So welcome back to our module 1 of the Family Constellation Virtual Training. We are looking today at the third order of love of Bert Hellinger's system, and this is titled Balance of Giving and Receiving. So what does that mean, and what do we need to know in order to heal the family wound is part of what you are going to see today. So let's go into it. What we are looking at is the orders of balance, giving and receiving in relationships. We are looking at 4 different relationships. No, we are actually looking at more. We are looking at the mother-child relationship, father-child relationship, the relationship to ancestors, and to romantic relationships. And we are also looking at the relationship from the child towards the parents, right? So so if you look at it, I should probably add that here. So the other way, from the perspective of a child towards the parent, right? Okay, so mother's relationship. Mother love flows towards the children. We had that yesterday, and that is very important that you will remember that. So I cannot emphasize enough on this. So the children are not supposed to give anything back. The river only flows in one direction. The water doesn't flow back to the spring, as we all know, right? Okay. Does this mean that children don't do anything for their parents? No. Does this mean that children don't love their parents? No, of course not, right? It just means that what the mother is giving towards the child, this nourishing and caring, life-sustaining love that she has, is not what the child is giving back to the mother, right? Okay. What is the child giving? We will talk about that maybe. Yeah, we can. I can mention that now. What the child is giving to the mother, that would be honor and respect, of course, for what she has done, gratefulness, support when she's elderly, but only from the perspective of an adult, not from the perspective of a child. So in a care, you know, from adult to adult, not a neediness kind of care. That is all what the child is giving. And of course, the greatest gift the child can give to the parents is, guess what? What would you say? Yeah, Rosemary?
No expectation, you said.
Yeah, the greatest gift. Yeah, thank you. That's very good. Thank you. And to be happy. Right? That is the greatest gift a child can give to the parents, to be happy, healthy, content, you know, with what they do with their life, and not throwing it away and doing nuisance things with this, like falling for addictions and, you know, just being I don't know, I don't want to say lazy. It's more like, you know, yeah,
without living.
Yeah, being like, you know, I don't know, gambling all day and being depressed at the end of the day and something like that, right? So the greatest gift a child can give their parents to lead a happy, healthy, creative life. That's it. So the love that is mother's love is only flowing in one direction. And this is going wrong in a lot of relationships. What is the most thing that goes wrong is that the mother is expecting from the children to love them back as they do, right? So lots of mothers are expecting from their children that they kind of love them back like they love them. Why is that? Because the mother is still a child by heart. The relationship is unbalanced because the mother is still a child by heart. She's traumatized, stuck in child energy, and expect from their children to be loved as if they were her mother. Yeah. And that goes wrong in many relationships. When I say wrong, it's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's unbalanced, and it needs some intervention if it wants to be healed, because this is a wound that the family soul will keep in the memory of the morphogenetic field, right? No doubt about that, right? So what are giving the children in terms of mother's love? They're giving this love forward towards their children. So mother's love, the nourishing, caring, life giving and sustaining love that they receive, they can't hold it in forever because they would kind of choke on it. It always has to flow. It's a river. It flows. It cannot stop flowing. So they give it to their children. And what is if they have no children? They find something else that needs their nourishing and caring love. That's often animals, right? To care for animals, or care for elderly, or care for, go to Africa, care for the children there. There's lots of ways to give this portion of mother's love that has been received further to somebody in need. So that is the balance in the mother-child relationship, and it is very important. You see that in a family constellation when this is unbalanced, clearly that the mother is needy. The mother cannot just stand for herself, the representative of the mother, stand for herself and just open her heart and give love. The mother is needy. She wants to either rush towards the child or pick it up, or she expects the child to love her more back, So that's one situation that is very often coming up in a family constellation. And of course, we will talk about that in the second module, what you actually can do to change this energy, how to balance it out, right? Because everything we are talking about has a solution, obviously, right? Otherwise, we would not talk about it, because we would need to learn it, because if it would not make any difference, why would we bother? Okay. So an easy way for a child to balance the receiving of the love of the mother is to be thankful. To be thankful, first of all, you can only be thankful when you first have received the love. And this is already the hurdle, that lots of children who are stuck in a childhood trauma cannot open their heart towards their mother. So before the thankfulness is the opening of the heart movement, yeah, to let the love in. And then the child can give thankfulness to the mother. First the flow and then the balance. The children's role is to receive mother's love as is, without judgment. That is very, very important. Because in our day-to-day living, we have this ideal of a mother. Yeah, how she's at home and cares and picks up the children from school and cooks lunch and washes you know what I mean, like this. Yeah, in a family constellation or on a soul level, this does not play any role. Nothing. What the mother is doing plays no role. The mother can be away all day working, and give the child to childcare all day. Yeah, it is still mother's love that is still flowing. Yeah, It's still the mother is caring because she makes sure that the child has everything the child needs. No? So she doesn't need to be personally involved in that. If she chooses to pursue a career or do something else or go traveling or whatever, that's her decision. As long as she's not abandoned her child and let it die without any care, she does everything right. No? Because that is her role. That the child maybe has a trauma from the mother not being present, that is very possible, and that's another thing. Yeah. That's another thing. But this trauma can also come through accidents and disease, right? So it is not something you can avoid just because you're a mother who is 24/7 caring for your child. You cannot avoid that, right? Things happen. So that is not the fault of the mother. And is it very easy always to, if the child is grown up and an adult and it's in your family constellation, this is proof that the mother did everything right. Right? So whenever the child who's not an adult, who's in your workshop, in your family constellation workshop, is starting to complain about the mother, no, then you know that's not of interest to us. The only thing we are noticing there is that the child has not opened their heart to the mother. That's the only thing we know. We don't mind what the mother has done or not done. That is absolutely nothing that is of interest for a family constellation facilitator. So common problems in unbalanced mother-child relationships are what I just said is child cannot receive. That is the most common problem or issue. And this is when we applying the healing that we called movement of the souls towards interrupted movement towards the mother. And we have module 4 where we go through that in great length, how to do that, how to perform that. And this is the healing movement for a child that cannot receive. The next common problem is in the mother-child relationship, the mother cannot give. Or let's say the mother cannot let the love flow. Stuck. Yeah. Because it's not an active giving. It's not like you have something and you have to give it to someone. It's you know, you also have to open your heart to let the love flow, which is already there. It's like a pressure release. Yeah. So this is the second common issue in the relationship. And this is also healed with the modality interrupted movement towards the mother, because this mother herself as a child was traumatized and had an interrupted movement towards her mother, the grandmother of the client. And this is very common that you see the interrupted movements through several generations. So the healing movement here is to start with this generation of mother who was able to let love flow. That's where you start. And then it goes down the generations to your client or to the client or to the one we are working with. And then you will see all the mothers who have overcome their trauma can open their heart and let the love flow, so it can uninterrupted flow through all generations towards the last one, the child. And that's beautiful to see, and it works a treat every time. It is simple, highly effective, and very necessary in most relationships with the mother. So then the third most common issue in the relationship between child and mother is, hang on, we have another coming in. Only Janet missing somehow today. So where was I? So the third most common issue in the relationship from the child and the mother is that the child feels superior to the mother. And that can have several issues. So first of all, hi Farah. So first of all, it can be also an interrupted movement towards the mother. So that's one thing, right? But there are now other options. The second is that the child thinks it is a better wife to the husband than her own mother. That's also common. And this is often an entanglement with the former partner of the father. So here it heals that you bring in, or we bring in, the former partner of the father. That is often the healing movement. And then there is a third option why the child feels superior to the mother, and that is that the mother herself is acting as a child. So that means that the mother herself needs the healing from her mother or grandmother, because she has not grown up. She is stuck in a trauma in childhood. How do we know in a constellation that the child we are of course talking about the representative. How do we know that the representative of this child feels superior to the mother? What do you think? What would you expect to see in gestures or Farah?
I think maybe it has to do sometimes with the size of the doll or the way it may be facing, how they face, perhaps.
Yeah, how would she face the mother? What do you think?
I think maybe like yesterday when we were doing the constellation for the dog club, where like the wife would be bearing down at the husband and telling the husband what to do. So in the same stance, maybe the child is the one who's dominating the representative of the mother, telling it what to do, and the mother perhaps might also be smaller and looking away or something like that.
Yes, very good. The child would feel larger or bigger or taller than the mother. That's it. So that's what you often see. So either when you work with figurines, the figurine would be larger than the mother's figurine, or the representative would tell you, oh, I feel so much bigger than her. They just feel it. They just know, right? That's the best hint that you have this dynamic going on. Of course, sometimes the representative is saying, oh, I feel so superior to my mother. That's then, of course, very obvious. Or what can the representative also? The representative can say, can feel something like, oh, I really want to tell her what to do. I really think she's not doing a good job. I can do that much better. Or anything like this. Yeah, that's it. Very good. So the fourth most common issue in the mother-child relationship is that the mother feels weak towards the child. So when we look at the child feels superior to the mother is neutral. Yeah, so the mother is not. She doesn't feel smaller towards the child, right? It's just the child feels taller towards her. But now we have the situation that the mother feels smaller than the child, although the child might be in the right position and doesn't feel that at all. Yeah. So when the mother feels weak towards the child, then we have to work with the mother and see if she has missed out on the love of her mother by an interrupted movement towards the mother, or if the mother is entangled with somebody from the family system, that there's a pattern to be, how can I put it, to be not fully in, to be not in your fullest power, you know, a pattern from the ancestors that is weak personality, if you will. So that is also possible. The father's relationship towards children, we have the same situation here. The father's love flows towards the children. And children cannot give the same love back to the father because the stream only flows one way again. Yeah. This is the same as with the mother, right? The father's love is slightly different. It is normally not so much focused on nourishment and care. It is more focused for structure and security, right? That is normally the father's love. But still, it is the same situation, flows one way. So the children are not supposed to give this back, and the father is not supposed to expect that from the children. Then we would have an imbalance. So the children do with father's love the same as with mother's love. They give it to their children or to a good cause or to the animals. That's the same thing. They give, however, in return to their father, thankfulness, gratitude, respect, honor, and making the best out of their lives. That's the best gift for the father. That they lead a happy, healthy, fulfilled life and don't waste it by being on drugs or alcoholic or however you can waste your life and do nothing creative with. So again, also in the relationship to the father, the children's role is to receive father's love as is, without judgment. And of course, in family constellation, you see it all the time. They're either complaining about the mother or they're complaining about the father. You know, the father was brutal, or he was never there, or he didn't care, or maybe they never knew the father. Of course, this happens a lot. That the child doesn't meet his father. So what does it mean in family constellation? That means nothing. Nothing, right? Other than that the child has maybe an interrupted movement towards the father because it wasn't able to connect with the father as a newborn or as a baby or toddler, because the father wasn't there. That's, of course, that's one thing. But other than that, these judgmental thoughts about the father, and the most common one is the father wasn't present, is for us, we are working with family constellation and the movement of the soul, irrelevant. Yeah. Again, the father has done everything right. Otherwise, this child would not have grown up and be part of our workshop. It's just, it's the same with the mother. It's just the proof in itself, because the father do not need to do anything specific to enable the life of the child. So that is the number one cause for rejection of the father, is the judgment. The father wasn't present, or not present enough. Might was present, but probably worked all the time, or had to work like on a ship, on a vessel or something, when he was away for half a year, or something like that. So the child kind of felt like it grew up without the father, something like that. Of course, also that the father left the family, that is often also a reason for rejection of the father. We work with this mainly with the tools of interrupted movement towards the father, which is similar to the interrupted movement towards the mother, which we will learn how to perform that in great depth in module 4. The second issue is that the father cannot give care that you see in the family constellation that the father cannot look at the child, often because they feel guilty, because they have the same judgment about themselves as the child has about them, that they didn't do enough, they wasn't there enough. Maybe they never made any effort to meet their child, you know. And you see that in the family constellation on a soul level. That is also judgment about not being present, but this time it is in the father. And that doesn't help the relationship at all, right? Any kind of judgment does not help on a soul level, because the relationship is not balanced through this. It's an unbalanced relationship, and it's causing a wound in the family soul. And then, of course, the issue with the father is very often that he himself has an interrupted movement, either towards the mother or towards the father. Could be both. And that made him unable to receive the father's love or the mother's love, and therefore unable to open his heart towards his children, to let the love flow. So then this is the same case with the multiple interrupted movements in the mother line. You can have the same in the father's line. The only difference is that in the father's line, you have always to find out first, does this interrupted movement of the father comes from his father or his mother? Because we don't know it. So we have to place both representatives, the father and the mother, and then see where the interrupted movement was. Yeah. Whereas when we have an interrupted movement towards the mother, well, in theory, the mother can have an interrupted movement towards the father, but if the mother has no interrupted movement towards the mother, then she can let the mother's love flow anyhow, even if she would have interrupted movement towards the father. So in the case of the mother's line, you only place mothers there. In the case of the father's line, you have to decide, is this the mother or is this the father, and take it from there. Yeah. And this can go backwards multiple generations, of course, not only one. Let's talk a little bit about the teacher-student relationship. Or let's start somewhere else. I wonder why I don't have that on my chart. When you have a group event, you have a leader of the group, yeah? You have the group participants, or like as individuals, and then you have the group as a whole, right? So when one of the group participants rejects, so there can be several problems. One of the group participants can reject the teacher, or can reject the group. Yeah? And I have learned from Bert and Sophie Hellinger, and she has actually mentioned that in one of our group sessions and our workshops. I give you the example. We had somebody in a workshop of trainees, probably 20 or something like that, who was kind of flipping out, so to speak. Yeah, he was abusive towards the group. He said, "Why you're staring at me?" and blah, and why you know, he was just completely out of his mind. So she asked him to leave. Of course, right? He was very destructive. Okay, when he left, she asked us, because we are the trainees, she asked us, whom was he rejecting? What do you think? He was rejecting his mother, because the group stands for the mother. So if somebody is rejecting a group, that means that this individual has an unbalanced relationship with his or her mother, most likely an interrupted movement towards her. On the other hand, what is if an individual in a group situation rejects the teacher? What do you think? Whom is he or she rejecting? Rosemary?
The father.
Right. Very good. It is the father. So the teacher stands, or the teacher, or the leader of the group. It doesn't need to be a teacher as such. In every group, you have like a facilitator or a leader or something. Stands for the father. Right. So the group gives this care and nourishment to an individual, and the leader or teacher gives the structure and security and safety to the group, right? So this is how you can remember who stands for whom. So the teacher-student relationship is similar to the father-child relationship. And this also means that as in the father-child relationship, the students give not back to the teacher what they have received, right? That is not possible. Because also this love, if you will, or this energy flows like a river only one way. That does not mean that the teacher is not learning when they are teaching. That's correct, right? That's always the same. But the student is not supposed to give what he has gotten from the teacher back to the teacher, because it only flows in one direction. What does he go back? What does he give back? He gives back his gratefulness, his thankfulness, honor, and respect. Same as he would do with the father. And on the other hand, the student will eventually become a teacher himself, and then can let the energy, the teaching, the love that is there, the creativity, can let flow towards his or her students, and therefore honor the teacher by doing a good job by doing so. And everyone who is filling his glass or her glass, or whatever vessel you can think of, vase, full with knowledge, will understand and has come to an understanding that once it is full, it is overflowing, right? So this overflow is symbolic for sharing, meaning you cannot constantly soak up knowledge and education and information and wisdom and just keep it in. That is impossible. There is a point when you have to share it as well. So it is a flow. You have to let it, it arrives in you, it fills up slowly in your own time. It can take the lifetime, but one day it's going to be shared. Yeah. And you can share just as a grandmother to the grandchildren, you know, with wisdom, or a formal teacher-student situation, or a informal situation in a group experience, however this looks like. Yeah. But the time to share will come once the vessel is fully full, fuller than full. Right. So if you look at any relationship where giving back is not possible, you always think of father-child, yeah? And have that in the back of your head. How to balance out a relationship where, similar to father, the love is flowing in one direction. And if there's nothing else to be done, then a simple thank you is also balancing it out. If it comes from the heart, of course. So, now we are looking at the ancestral relationship. First of all, as you know now from yesterday, the ancestors come before the parents or before the grandparents. So they give and the descendants receive. That's the same situation. The water flows one direction from the spring to the ocean. The love flows from the source to the last born. And that's so it is. So they give and the descendants receive. So what do they give? Well, they can give, when you're looking at the line of mothers, the mother's nourishing love. When you look at the line of the fathers, they can give structure and stability. Yeah. But if you address in the family constellation ancestors not in their function as mother or father, meaning they do not appear in a row of interrupted movements towards the mother or the father, then what they give is normally blessings. And sometimes this can have a great impact into the on the family constellation. That's what they give. They give blessings. The love that is flowing, either as mother or father, they give through their children. So if you have the situation that a representative of a family constellation is turning towards an ancestor, then that means there are several generations in between that are not there, that are not represented, right? Otherwise, you would have always father, mother, father, mother, father, mother in multiple generations, right? But if you don't have that, you have only a representative for an ancestor. They cannot give mother or father's love. They need to flow through each individual in the family member, right? It cannot skip somebody, yeah? So now you know when you only have an ancestor and not the generations in between, what they can give is blessing. So you can ask the representative to ask the ancestor for their blessings. So when I say they give through their children, that is the mother's or father's love, right? So these are two options. Either you have the row of mothers and fathers, then they can give love. If you don't have the row, they can give blessings. Descendants receive blessings by making their life extraordinary in honor of the ancestors, right? That's the way to thank the ancestors for their support and their blessings, yeah? To take the gift of life that is originated in the ancestors and make something good out of it. They don't need to give it to their children or to animals or to a good cause. They just lead a good creative life. And with good, I don't mean religious good. Remember the conscience, there is no good and bad. You know, even if somebody's really, really evil, but is really good at it. You know what I mean? He's honoring the ancestors with it. You know, you have to forget about good and bad. Like, you know, when you think about a good life, it's not a morally good life. It's what the family system thinks is good. Yeah. And if that was like, if they were all very cunning and whatever and dominating and or maybe even evil, then that's a good life that the family that the descendant is leading in their conscience, in their group, and that's good. So remember, we are not thinking of good and bad in moral terms, right? That's really important to understand. And as a family constellation facilitator or practitioner or enthusiast, this is one of the biggest lessons to learn. You have to overcome your belief system, your conditionings, what you've been told is good or bad, because that has no room in a family constellation. Do you find that challenging? Shall we just share that a little bit? Okay, Farah, you are nodding, so you go. Tell me why.
I think it's just something that we're just so used to. And then, even though we're saying that there's no room for morality, there is still some value, in what we're doing, like blessings and love. There's an element of value in what we're talking about when we do family constellation. So I think it's about separating clearly what is value for the family constellation from what we perceive as value for ourselves in the way that we've been conditioned to for so many years. And I think, like, even when you're talking, in my brain, I'm just having slip ups. I'm like, no, it's a representative. No, this is not. This is a moral judgment and things like that. So it's just I have to keep correcting myself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
and that's a good exercise to do that, because we have to do that all the time. The good thing is, Farah, you will see when you are more experienced in connecting with the morphogenetic field, it is much easier because you are lifting your frequency, if I would say, to such a higher level that these thoughts might not even come to you. So sitting here from where we are at now today, from where we are at in this theoretical environment where we are in our personality and attached to our lives and our families and our belief systems, this seems to be difficult. But once doing the work from the point of an versed, knowledgeable and experienced facilitator, it is not. It is the easiest of the world, right? So that is to come from A to B, yeah? And this is what is also the goal of the training, the whole course. So, Ray, what do you find particularly difficult to let go of in terms of good and bad in your own belief system?
Honestly, like, I'm not struggling with that at all, but I'm just thinking the only thing that makes me think is if someone is being abusive, but then we already said that the souls agree, this is the only one that maybe I'm just like still like toying with. But I think like I'm not really struggling with that idea. Like I truly do, I believe in that. Yeah.
Okay, this is always the okay, how can I put that? The mind is always coming up with the impossible. If you understand what I mean, because it's impossible for us to sit here and say it's okay to abuse a young girl. Yeah? And this is the trick of the mind. Because of course it is not okay, yeah? For the perspectives of the mind, for the perspective of, also for the perspective of the soul movement, it is not okay because it is not balanced yet. Yeah? Because the point of this forgiving and forgetting and merging has not reached yet, right? So it is not okay of any levels, but the mind wants to trick us in the theory of it and say us, now it's difficult for us to perform family constellation. This is not the right conclusion. Yeah. And whenever you are, and that's a good thing if you think about it now, the only thing is to let go of the mind and say, okay, you can say whatever you want. I know you are not where I am. You are not in the realm of soul movements and family constellations. You are with your morals, with your family. That's and that's okay. So this is also exactly the problem why it is so difficult to talk to lay persons, people who are not in the know, about family constellation and the orders of love of Bert Hellinger. Because obviously they come with exactly that, what you just mentioned, right? And you are not yet there to be able to discuss that on a level that does not cause tension or friction. Yeah, this is why it's better not to go there at the moment. But it is good to know where your what your mind is coming up if you throw, like if it wants to throw his best bet in or his best card. Yeah, it is always abusive. It's always child abuse that's being perceived as the worst thing that can ever happen. Yeah, yeah, and you're not alone, Rim. That happens to pretty much everyone. And you, Rosemary, what do you think is the most challenging moral to overcome?
Now you can hear me.
Yeah.
You see, once I was a Sunday school teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In the Catholic Church?
No.
No.
And you see, the more I learn in a way, they also say even an advanced soul could be a serial killer.
Yeah.
And in a way, everything you say, it makes sense. But in a way, I have to overcome my Sunday school teacher beliefs.
Yeah. And which one comes to your mind, which is probably the hardest or the most prominent one?
No,
The serial
in a way,
killer.
yeah, but also I can see, for example, a mafia member. I think the family system would be very, very proud of them.
Yeah.
Because they do a fantastic job. They are organized.
Yeah.
But as a Sunday school teacher,
Yeah.
Nice.
The good thing is, I totally understand that. The good thing is, in family constellation, you are not taking sides, neither. You are not all of a sudden cheering up a mass murderer or a mafioso or a child abuser. You're not pro that, neither, of course. You're just not on that level of reality, you know? You are going to another level of reality, if you will, where this is transforming into victim-perpetrator dynamics. So beyond the conscience of the family, that's where you go. You go to the spirit-mind conscience. Because you can only heal from there. You cannot heal if you take sides, right? If you adopt any good or bad side. No? And as I said, don't worry. It from the state of the mind where it is now, it sounds daunting, but it is not once you advance in your training. Okay. And of course, I probably would like you to do some homework and make an exercise. An exercise I have done several times throughout my adult life, and it helped every time. I would you to choose one day out of the next week, out of the next 7 days, one day where you wake up in the morning and you agree to everything that's happening. So inwardly you say yes, only until you go to bed. Yeah. And try to say yes as often as you can also to the person, to the individuals you're dealing with. And I guarantee you now the mind comes in and says, but I cannot say yes if somebody says, give me all your money, right? Is your mind coming? This is just the mind. Of course, nobody will approach you with this demand. So choose a day when you say, and the evening you say, okay, tomorrow I agree to everything as it is. I don't say no, and I don't say maybe, I say yes. Okay. You wake up in the morning and you say yes to your alarm clock. Thank you. For example. And then you have breakfast and maybe you have a partner or children around. They say, can you make me breakfast? And although you're in a hurry, you say yes. You just do a quick breakfast, you know, and so on and so on. In the workplace, and then you go to bed and then you resume how you felt. How was this day for you? And maybe write all what you have perceived in your notebook, and what you have felt and what you have thought about and what situations were there and what was challenging and what was easy. Yeah? Okay, let's make it an exercise for next week. Very good. So, common problems and answers to relationships. Our ancestors are excluded is the most common one. One ancestor, or maybe more than one, are excluded from the, not from the family system, because you can't do that, they're always included, but from the they're excluded from the memories of the family members. So nobody remembers them, nobody talks about them, because they have done something that the family wasn't agreeing to, where the conscience of the family was not allowing it to happen. So this is why an ancestor is excluded. So this is a common problem. So in a family constellation, we see it. We introduce a representative for the ancestor, and we ask the ancestor for blessing, right? That's what we ask, blessing. And now, because the ancestor is in the position to give what he's supposed to give, the relationship is balanced. Yeah. And it might even, it sounds so simple, and it is so simple, but of course this needs to be seen in a family constellation. I don't want to say anything is difficult, because it's not. But the challenge is in the family constellation to find what is missing. Because if we can work with everybody who is there, we normally wouldn't have an issue. An issue in a family system is a symptom that somebody from the family system is excluded. So our task is to find the one who is excluded. Yeah. And I was thinking, Rosemary, of your first family constellation with your dog. So there was a dog who was excluded, and I guarantee you the dog was standing for an ancestor, because you ask what is the dog doing there, right? So the dog was an excluded ancestor. And we don't need to know who that was. They don't have to have a name. They don't have to have it like which gender. This is all for the mind. Has nothing to do with the movement of souls. As you know, this works, and it can even appear in the form representing a dog. It still is a family member who was excluded. And this is a new family system. There's a new family constellation where you do not need to know the real life stories, yeah, for the healing process. Okay. Then the next issue with ancestors is often, or the second often issue is that an ancestor is included, so is seen but is not honored. So it's speaking about negatively, yeah. So the first issue was an ancestor not speaking about, missing. And the next issue is with an ancestor, it's speaking about but badly, judgmental. Yeah. and often in form of stories, because nobody knew the ancestor. Like from the generation you are working with, they don't know the ancestor, so they hear stories from their parents, from their grandparents, right, about this person. And then when you hear stories about a person, then it is often so that there is actually an issue, because in the moment you are in a family constellation situation and this person comes to mind, it always means something. It means that this family member needs to be included. And then if it's an ancestor, honored and show honor and respect to them to balance this relationship. Let's see where we are with the next slide. What is an entanglement with an ancestor? So they only want to point at the imbalance in their generation. So when you have an entanglement, remember the triangular situation with 3 people involved, and one of them is an ancestor. Then the role of the ancestor is to point out of an imbalance in their generation. So the healing goes there. Yeah. The descendant's role is here to see the imbalance and not to fix it. That is also important, because the descendant who feels this entanglement with an ancestor has the urge to fix it, right? To heal it, to do something. But that is not the role, because there is no relationship between generation 1 and generation 5. You know, that's impossible. Nothing could have happened between them, ever. The imbalance is in the generation of the ancestor. So the third person here is from the generation of the ancestor. Right? Makes sense, hopefully. The right order is here. The descendant is receiving blessings, and the 2 others, 2 ancestors from one generation, are fixing their problem. This brings relief to the descendant and to the generation of the ancestor, and therefore heals the family wound twofold. It heals the original trauma and it heals the entanglement. Okay, now we have an exercise. So I just realized that Janet emailed me that she's not going to make it to today's part. So we are 3 and not 4. First of all, I will go with you through a meditation. So we do that together. It's a guided meditation. And then when we come out of the meditation, we will make 2 breakout rooms, and I go with one of you, and then 2 are together. And then you will represent yourself and your partner will represent an ancestor. Any ancestor. You do not need to know whom. Yeah, that is not important. The ancestor will come through after the meditation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So sit upright. Keep your spine unsupported. Wiggle your shoulders a little bit. Oh, let me stop the sharing so I not see this. What is going on here? Oh gosh, how do I do that now? Hang on. Here. Got it? Okay. So let's prepare for the meditation first. And then after the meditation, where's my video now? Let's just quickly find out what's going on here. So my video is gone. You don't see me, eh? Do you see me? I don't see me. Okay. What
We see
what
you.
did I do? Okay, good. Well, that's good then. I probably get that fixed somewhere else. So I would like you to, when we have been gone through the meditation, that we're not talking so much, so you stay connected with where you have been in your meditation. And I just need a few moments to sort out the breakout rooms, yeah? And then you are right there. And the only thing is you decide who's starting, yeah? So who is representing the ancestor for somebody? That's it's just a brief catch up, me or you, and then you start. And we do the same exercise as with father and mother. You don't need to say something, but this time is if you feel the urge to say something, you can. So if you are representing yourself and you're meeting your ancestor and you feel the urge to say something to your ancestor, that's fine. Or if you're representing the ancestor and you feel the urge to give something to your descendant, like a word or a picture or an emotion or anything, that's fine. So you don't need to hold that back. But do not enter in a dialogue. Yeah? We're just talking about 1 or 2 words and not a dialogue back and forth. Yeah? Okay. Right. So take a deep breath through the nose and an open mouth exhale. Inhale deep into your belly. The belly comes out. And exhale, draw the belly in. Completely exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhale. Inhale. Let go of thoughts of the day and exhale deeply. Let go of emotions. Continue breathing through your nostrils in and out, deep into your belly. And with every breath you take, you feel more relaxed, calm, at peace. With every breath you take, you enter, you go deeper into your inner space of peace and tranquility. And you finally enter your happy space. The space where you are safe, where you're living in the now. There is no past, no future. This is a space where everything is okay as it is. You are okay as you are. Nothing needs to be added or taken away. You are perfect as you are in this moment, in this space. And in this happy space, that could be anywhere indoors or outdoors, wherever your mind leads you to. Maybe a meadow with flowers and butterflies and the sweet smell of roses, or the hilltops with a fresh and rough wind and great views over the plains, Or maybe you hear the ocean waves coming to the shore while you are sitting in the warm white sand of the beach. Whatever picture comes to you first, make this your happy space. And in this happy space, you look around and you are happy from the bottom of your heart because nothing is missing. Everything is perfect as it is, and you are in full control of the reality in your happy space. So there is no room for fear. In your happy space, you invite your ancestors in. These ancestors who want to come and work with you, either supporting you or giving you a task. And it could be one ancestor or it could be more than one individuals appearing. And you might not realize their faces, recognize their faces. You might have never seen a picture of them, or you might know this person. Whoever comes forward, you stay there with your open heart and your open arms and say yes to your ancestor. Yes, I am here to receive whatever you want to pass on to me. And whatever your ancestor is sharing with you, may it be a word, a gesture, an object, is a precious gift that you take with great gratitude. And whatever it is, you take it to your heart, you put both hands on your heart and give it a space there so it is always with you. And then you ask your ancestor, please give me your blessing. And also this blessing you receive to your heart. And then you take a bow towards your ancestor. May it be small, may it be deep. And then you observe how your ancestor or your ancestors leave your happy space again the way they came. And you yourself turn around and leave your happy space with your gift in your heart. And you come back to this room, take your time. You come back to this room. When you open your eyes, when you are ready. Welcome back. You would like to share your your meeting with your ancestors? Yeah, Reem?
When I was representing Farah's ancestors, I just kept feeling my head was moving up, like, you know, like saying yes. Like that's how I felt, like I was
Oh, yeah.
the whole time. And when she was representing my ancestors, I couldn't stop looking at her eyes and feeling how kind she is. She's so kind.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you,
then, yeah,
did you receive in the meditation a present, anything from your ancestor?
I struggled to stay with you in my meditation.
Mhm.
Like it was, I couldn't follow up with it, to be honest. So I
Mhm.
can't remember most of it.
Okay, no, that's okay. Doesn't need to. Okay, thanks for sharing. And Farah, how about you?
When Reem was representing my ancestors, I felt childlike, like free, and I felt seen, and I felt loved. Just very free,
Mhm.
you know. And when I was representing her ancestors, I just had a voice. It wouldn't be a voice in my head, but just here, like I just wanted to say, I'm here, I'm supporting you, we're supporting you, I'm supporting you. And eventually, like I just couldn't keep it in, and I just told her I'm supporting you, and felt just really happy after that. You know, I just felt just like so in love with Reem in that sense.
Yeah.
It just yeah, I can't describe it in words. But when I was receiving it from Reem, it was also, as much as it was just so simple, like I felt like a child, it was also, I welled up a bit because it just felt, I've not felt like that in a long time, I think.
Mm.
And that felt
Beautiful.
really good.
Wonderful. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, you would
Thank
see
you.
ancestors are often, like pretty much every time, very proud and, of their descendants. I mean, whatever they do, that doesn't matter. As I said before, they are not judging the descendant at all. They're just, yeah, full of love. Yeah. And it's good to know
When
that.
when we were doing the meditation, one person did come to mind so
Yeah.
clearly. It was my grandmother's sister who passed away a few
Mhm.
years ago. Yeah,
Ah,
and
yeah.
I saw her.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
And how was it for you?
It was good. It was nice.
Nice. Wonderful. Very, very good. Great. Okay. So this was connecting with our ancestors, and it's time for a break anyhow. So let's have a break, 10 minutes, and then I see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hang on. Here we go. So please introduce your partner, Rosemary.
Where is he? There he is.
Ah, here he is. Wonderful. Was this
Well,
recently, or is he a bit younger there?
22 years ago, I think.
Okay. Right. Beautiful.
His name is Peter, and he is a farmer, and he is very reliable, and I think he loves me very deeply, and he's down to earth, and he has a good sense of humor. But he also has a very hot temper, and he talks back quite a bit, and he doesn't do favors. But I have to say, with being like that, I have to work on myself to overcome or to stay together. It's not always easy, as a normal relationship is.
Mhm. Very good. Thank you very much for introducing Peter to us. Wonderful. Farah, how you go?
Yeah, it's a good thing I go because he's in the shower, so you can't hear. This is she.
Wonderful.
That was on our honeymoon, so that was 6 years ago. And he is very kind. He is a very warm person. In his own way, I think a lot of people tend to see him as very cold and guarded, but there are times when I know that he's being very warm, and that's just how he presents himself. He is a very good provider. He is very responsible, very reliable. And he compliments me that he is very opposite of what I am. I can be a bit of a whirlwind, and he's very calm and steady like a strong rock. But at the same time, I think we were brought up very differently, and he has sometimes a lot of my needs, especially like emotional needs, don't necessarily get met by him, because although we get along very well and he's one of my closest friends, he's still sometimes a bit closed off. And that's something we've been, well, I really hoped we would work on more, especially after we did a constellation once and we were told that we need to connect more and do eye contact exercises. But the man hates eye contact. If I stare at him, he'll tell me to look away, and he'll like, why are you looking at me? And I'm like, you're my husband. I'm looking at you. And he's like, I don't like it though. And he'll just refuse to do it. So I think sometimes that's where my desire for more intimacy and more connection often I don't get. But with the years, I've gotten used to kind of managing my own expectations and knowing he loves me very much, even though he doesn't want to do it the way I want to do it, in that sense.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Thank you. How about you? How much do you love him?
Oh, very, 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 very much.
Very good. Thank you for introducing him
Thank
to
you
us.
so much.
And did I hear you right? You were at a family constellation and they told you to do exercises at home.
Yeah. We had a very rough first year in our marriage. There was a lot of complications. And I was on the brink of leaving completely. And one of the things that I had done to heal myself from a very traumatic year was to go for constellations when I was separated. And then when we were considering reconciling, I told him I wanted him to come with me. And the lady who performed it was in Kuala Lumpur. So we traveled to Malaysia and we met with her. And she did a constellation with us. And I think our dolls on the board, if I recall correctly, may have been facing one another. And she said, we were arguing a lot. And then she said that we needed, she said you could have a once in a lifetime, once in a million strong friendship and bond if you would connect with each other. And she said there was a lot of fear between us and that we needed to do an eye contact exercise every day. He stuck to it for a while, and then, life happens, and now he won't even look at me for more than 3 seconds if I tell him to look me in the eye. The only time he does that is when he's angry. So I think sometimes I start fights just to get it. I'm not sure, but I will just kind of provoke him. And then I think so. I'm starting to see a pattern. I provoke him and it does get me what I want. And then eventually we do have great makeup sex. So that works.
Well, at least one thing works. No, I'm kidding. So okay, so that's interesting because I'm just just want to make sure that I heard correctly, because normally after family constellation you don't do anything, right? That sounds a little bit like a couple therapy, what you described, rather than a constellation in the method of Bert Hellinger.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Because we are in the constellation working with the soul movement, yeah?
Yeah.
And in the constellation, the souls are moving. And when we do something later that doesn't come from the soul, that comes from the mind, because we've been told to, yeah, we are interrupting event. So risking to interrupt the soul movement, yeah, instead of letting it come to a completion, which can take up to 6 months. So after family constellation, the result or the change in reality, if you will, takes, it can be from instantaneously to up to 6 months. And this is the time you would allow the souls to come to the end of the movement that you have ignited in the family constellation. And everything you do, yeah, in this time might, interrupt it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Thank you for sharing
just
that with me.
saying, so
Mm.
just saying, I mean, I would probably, if I would be you, I wouldn't fight for this eye contact exercise.
Yeah, no, I've given up. I've given up. I
That's
do it
good.
more to irritate him.
That's good. That's good. So, just remember, maybe we do a family constellation today. We'll see. We'll see. I want to stop talking about that. Okay. Thank you for sharing. And here we go. Reem, are you up to share? Yeah. Okay.
So this is Samir.
Mm-hmm.
We met, we both were 17, so that was over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were together for 10 years. But then it took us a long time to be able to talk to each other again, which was just happened recently, like a year ago almost, which was great. That finally we both, at least from my side, I feel like enough love just to be in each other's life again. And I think it helped a lot for both of us to bring a lot of healing and the closure as well. If I'm which was very important for me to, like, hearing his side of the story. Like, as much as we talked before, I think it just but we couldn't. The past like 10 years, we tried to reach out to each other, but with each other in a way. But now this was the first time after doing a lot of constellations for him, to be honest, to get closure, to move on. Finally, I was able to, have like I think, more of a balanced relationship with friends.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, good. Now that your partners or ex-partners are seen, and they will take part in what you're doing and support you for sure. Okay, so let's talk about balancing of giving and receiving in what we call, for the sake of discussion, romantic relationships. It meaning a significant other who is not your father and not your mother. Nowadays, it can be same sex, and it can be platonic, and it can be transgenderish, whatever, whatever modern, or how can I say, modern relationships are possible. We're always talking about the same thing if we talking about relationship, romantic relationship, as opposed to mother, father, and ancestors. Here we are meeting face to face. Yeah. So we have not the stream situation where love flows from the source down to the ocean. Here we have a lake situation, right, where the water is flat and partners are on the same level, right? So if this is right away, if you think right away of your own or another relationship you know of where this is obviously not the case, then there's an unbalanced relationship because one is playing the child and the other is playing the parent. Yeah. And this is an unbalanced relationship when we are looking at romantic relationships. Yeah. Because obviously one partner is not a parent and the other is not a child. Yeah. Who of you has a nickname for your partner or your ex-partner that is representing a animal?
I call him the same as the horse.
That means what?
I call the horse the same name as my husband.
So what name is it?
Moti. It means big one.
Big one. Ah, okay. So I see what you say. Okay. So you don't call him a horse or a rabbit, or some
No.
have, some have for their partner a little animals as nicknames, like, oh, my little rabbit, or things like this, or my whatever, my bird, or I don't know. This is a sign for an unbalanced relationship because the partner is considered to be a child, right? And this is interesting if you know a relationship where it's often the man for the woman, and it is not skewed, it is a belittling of the woman, not allowing her to be level, So I do know a relationship where this is the case, and it drives me nuts when I hear them saying this. Anyhow, it's not my business. So everyone is equal in a romantic relationship, right? So they are meeting, always think of the lake, flat, completely flat, still, and this is where the partners meet, right? So giving and taking has to be balanced. Each partner equally gives and receives. That is very, very important for a relationship that is, let's say, successful, or lasting, or in harmony, in true harmony, not in perceived harmony. I've been asked a lot, what about money? Because in a relationship, often money is an issue. And yes, money is also a means of giving and receiving. Yeah. So it's not that money is excluded. It's also just energy and can be given and received. There's nothing bad or good in money. It's just what it is. Yeah. A means of exchange. What else is giving and receiving in relationship? Let's ask you. What do you think? What are you giving or and receiving in a relationship? What comes to your mind? First thing. Dream?
Love, respect. I wouldn't say yeah, caring for someone, and sometimes you can drop the ball with something, like I help you out with something and you have like house chores.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. Anything else? Yes,
I
Farah?
think acceptance, and I think that's been a big game changer for me, to just let the person be exactly what they are.
Is this something that you give and receive? Acceptance?
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's how I feel it, that welcoming the person just exactly as they are, not expecting them to change. So it's safety to just be you.
Mhm.
And I feel like I receive that, like a space, a safe space, and I give a safe space as well.
Ah, yeah. Okay, very good. Anything else? Rosemary, if something comes to your mind, what are you giving and receiving in your relationship?
I think it's already said in a
Mhm.
way, but maybe in our situation, Pete provides more, or he does the physical work
Mhm.
on the farm, and I do more the administration. So in a way, or I do more chores. So in a way, I don't know if you call it giving and receiving, but
Absolutely. That is giving and receiving time.
yeah.
That's what you do in a relationship. You give and receive time, shared task, work, cooking, cleaning, looking after the children. You know, this is time that you give.
I would like to share more of the cleaning.
Yeah, you can ask for it. Maybe that's the thing. But this is just one part of so giving and receiving is not only on a
We can't hear
mental
you
level, it's a
properly.
physical level as well, right?
Yeah, we can't hear you properly.
No, you can't hear me properly. Why not? What?
Now it's better.
Okay, just give me a thumbs down when something is really wrong and you can't follow, yeah? Because I can't hear that. For me, everything is perfect from here, right? Mhm. Okay, so giving and receiving is practically everything that you can physically, emotionally, or mentally give and receive. Yeah, there's nothing excluded. Everything has a value. So, so what means balance is? Balancing means that equally you give and receive, not the same thing, of course, yeah, but equal. Like if you say time, if you do chores and your partner does work, that can be measured. Yeah, and you can find out if this is equal or not. So if one spends more time to provide for the relationship something mutual than the other, we have an imbalance that needs to look at and to be balanced again in order for the relationship to thrive. But having said that, it does not need to be balanced in time. It can be balanced with others. It can be emotionally balanced or mentally, right? This is also possible. So judgment is a common, of course. it's a common phenomenon in the romantic relationship, but it eventually will lead to breakup of relationship, because when you judge your partner, you are hindering yourself, or you're blocking yourself from receiving what he or she is giving. That's a judgment. The judgment that we carry inside us is blocking us from receiving, right? Maybe even from giving, but more importantly from receiving. Because the judgment towards the partner says, whatever you do, it is not enough for me. Yeah. And this is blocking your heart, closing your heart and blocking you energetically off from receiving what he has to give. Yeah. This does not mean that you are always in agreement what happens. That just means that judgment is not the means to balance a relationship. Yeah. A clear picture of what is going on and then taking action to what it's missing is the right way to balance out a relationship. And we will look at it, how this would look in the light of the Orders of Love of Bert Hellinger. This is not necessarily, as I said before, a guidance to a happy relationship in the reality that we are living in, because some things are happening rather on a soul level than in the physical realm. But however, this is quite accurately lines up with my own experience and my observations in many relationships. And I can say, I think we have it in our hands to balance out a relationship when we know about the Orders of Love. So let's go into that. So the common problem or issue in a relationship that leads to an imbalanced relationship is one is giving too much and one is not receiving. That's the most common one. one is giving too much, and it is often the female part of a relationship. And this is because women are by nature, caring for their children, are more versed in giving, yeah, because that is what nature wants women to do when they have a child. No, you give practically everything. So from my observation, this is a common problem, that women are giving practically everything they can possibly give and not knowing and not perceiving that the man, the counterpart, is not capable of giving equal back. Yeah. And since you cannot make somebody else give more, the only thing, what can you do? You give less. Yeah. Because you can only correct or alter your own behavior, not that of somebody else. So if you want your relationship to go ahead and you came to the point to notice that you give more than your partner, the only way, it's no point in asking your partner to give more, because chances are he would not know how at all. The only way you can balance the relationship is you give less. Very practical. You just stop making breakfast. You just start to count the time that you spend for the relationship and that he spends for the relationship. And then you just equal it out and do your own thing with the spare time. And it does sound quite simple, but it is so simple. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is, a most common problem is that that the giving part is unrealistic. Yeah. I give you my love forever. How is that realistic? How do you know, right? And this is hard to balance. How can somebody balance something unrealistic out? With what? With something else unrealistic? That doesn't work. Yeah. So it is very important in a romantic relationship to use the right terminology to make it work, because it is work. It sounds romantic, but the romance is gone after 2 years when the hormones, when the hormones are used up from being in love. And then it's work for everybody. That is no exemption. Some relationships more, some relationships less, but it is always work for both parties. So now that you are initiated into the orders of love and know what to do, it's in your hand to balance the relationship by observing what is not in balance and taking action on your side to balance it. And avoid anything that cannot be balanced by your partner, meaning unrealistic giving. Will you love me forever? Or I'm going to love you forever. Or what else is unrealistic? Is anything coming to your mind? Anything else that you might say unconsciously that is unrealistic? In the heat of the moment? Have you ever said, I love you forever? Or will you love me forever? No, you're more down to earth. That's good. That's really good, because who knows, right? What is forever? Forever is not even existing in the realm we are living in, right? There's nothing. Everything has a beginning and an end. So let's look closely. Who is going to leave an unbalanced relationship? What do you think? Unbalanced relationship, it means one is giving more than the other. So you have two choices. Either the one who's giving too much is leaving, or the one who is not receiving who's leaving. What do you think? What is most common?
I think the person who gives too much, the woman.
And Rosemary, you think?
No, I think it's the other one who doesn't get enough.
And that's correct. The one who cannot receive feels guilty. The one who cannot give back enough feels guilty, feels minor, feels small, feels incapable, and eventually has to leave the relationship. Correct. And that again is often the male partner. Yeah, because the women give and give and pour everything out, and they just can't take it because they cannot give anything back of this, gratitude or of this magnitude, and then they eventually have to leave. So now I introduce you to the concept of Bert Hellinger, from balancing the good and balancing the bad, which is, when I heard it the first time, I found it really fun. But on closer, if you take a closer look on it, it has a deep wisdom behind. So first of all, as everything, you have it in control. You can let your love grow and you can let your love die. It's like a plant. You can let a plant grow or you can let it die. If you don't give it enough water or nutrition or sunlight or shelter or protection, it can die. But if you know of all the requirements and you meet them all, you will let it grow. And that is the same in a relationship. What is in the way is that we are emotional in our own relationships and don't see it. We don't see the imbalance, and we don't see clearly the path that is in front of us. But in a family constellation, when you're connected with the morphogenetic field and you're working with a couple, that is different. There you clearly see the imbalance. Yeah. And what is needed to let it grow or to let it die. So balancing in the good and balancing the bad. If somebody hurts the partner, yeah, that needs as much balancing as if he would give the partner. So when a partner hurts the other, that needs to be balanced. How is that balanced? The partner has to do something equal back. That is balance. That sounds very Old Testimony, right? An eye for an eye and something like that. But there is a deep truth in it, because it is about balancing. If somebody hurts you and you don't balance it out, the relationship is over, right? If somebody hurts you and you don't do anything with it, you just let it be as it is, you have to leave, otherwise you are a masochist, right? Likes to be hurt or something like that. So now the decision has to be made. Do you want the relationship to grow, or do you want the relationship to come to an end? If you want the relationship to grow, you balance out in the bad, like bad, whatever you perceive as bad, hurtful, but it is a little bit less hurtful. I make an example. Imagine your partner has cheated on you and you know of it. Now, to balance it out, you need to cheat on him as well. Yeah, that's balance, right? Now, if you would do that, it would be like a ping pong, right? He has to cheat on you again. Now you have to cheat on you again. Like, you know what I mean? Ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. This is not growing love, right? This is becoming a game of power, maybe. Yeah. So Bert Hellinger says to let the love grow in this situation, you hurt him, but you hurt him a little bit less. So instead of cheating on him, you are heavily flirting with somebody without, going to the end. Now, make sure that he knows that, of course. Huh? Now, he has to balance that out, but if he wants to let the relationship grow, he has to do it a little bit less. So instead, of course, he cannot cheat now to balance it out. He cannot heavily flirt to balance, but he would probably mildly flirt with somebody to balance it out, right? And then you would try to balance it out, but with just toying with the idea of flirting with somebody, right? You get the picture. And so you balance it out until there is no hurtful action anymore. So that is in the orders of love, the balancing in the bad, if you want to let the love grow. If you don't want to let the love grow, if you are just for revenge, you would do something worse. You would, I don't know, cheat with 2 guys at once or something. I don't know, whatever is worse. And then he would try to overpower that, and then it would become very ugly, and the relationship would be over anyhow. So you can, of course, and we hope that is more the case, balancing out a relationship in the good with good deeds. Yeah. So if your partner is making a really lovely present for you, I don't know, a surprise vacation somewhere, then that needs your balance, right? You need to do something too. And to let the relationship grow, you think of something even better. So you're balancing it out by doing more. This lets the love grow. So everybody gives a little bit more. So the giving goes up on both sides equally. Like it's like a scale that always comes up a little bit more on both sides. It's actually not a scale. Yeah, maybe. So that is giving in the good. And if you don't want to let the relationship and the love grow, then you give a little bit less, and less, and then he gives less, and then giving is over at one stage. So that is the giving and receiving and balancing in romantic relationships. And when you have a family constellation situation where clearly one is giving more than the other, then you would, with the tools that you will learn in this training, suggest to the representatives to balance it out. Right there, right now. Yeah. And this can make the love grow, or maybe it's appropriate to come to an end. That is also something that is seen in the family constellation. Let's talk about forgiving and forgetting, because the ultimate means, now there's a third choice. If you do not want to balance it out by doing something bad, let's say there's no way you want to heavily flirt with somebody or even mildly flirt, you're just not interested in doing that. Yeah. How do you balance out this action? There's only one way. If you want the relationship to grow, the love to grow, you have to forget it. Forgiving and forgetting are the same thing. If forgiving without forgetting is not balancing anything out, right? Because what happens when you say to him, I forgive you, but this cheating is always in your mind, nothing has changed. Yeah. The only thing that would make it balanced, so it is as if it would has never happened. And the way to make it go away is to forget it. Literally, forget it. Yeah. So the true forgiving is always forgetting about it. So it's not in the back of your mind anymore. It's nowhere. It's just not there. It's like it is gone. And that's always the option. And as a side note, in family constellation, we are not using the word forgiving. Yeah, because there is no power behind it. If this is needed, we can use the word forgetting. It's not I forgive you replaced with I forget you. Yeah. Right, so that's not what we say. Yeah, but we would say not I forgive you, we would say I don't know what you're talking about. I have completely forgotten. Yeah, or don't worry about it anymore. I've completely forgotten about it. That is the way to balance out something that you do not want to take action to get the scale up level again. So then something else that Bert Hellinger has discovered is, and that might be true for you as well, especially when you have a child, which is Farah. You might felt the same, I don't know, but the intimacy decreases with the firstborn child. It's kind of a how can I say, a very common result of having the first child born. But the relationship can expand into something greater than just intimacy. So the balance for this loss is to grow something else, you know? And that is the beauty. You can always transform it into something greater. Yeah. This is the way to stay in the relationship if both partners appreciate the widening of the relationship for the sacrifice of the intimacy. So to connect more on a heart level, on an emotional level, to share more, to do something else more than intimacy. And I definitely have observed that a lot, that the intimacy is on both parts, mother and father, changing after the first child. Have you, Farah, do you want to share? Is that something that you have experienced as well?
I actually think that, our marriage worked more after we had our children. I think it was rocky after the first child. And then it got a lot stronger. And I don't know if it's also because, like, with COVID, we all started being home more, and then you end up kind of coming close and wanting to protect the family more. So I feel like our relationship improved over the past few years. Yeah.
So with the firstborn child, the intimacy has improved, or the relationship? What do you think?
I think probably more of the relationship, maybe not so much the intimacy, but also we're a bit of a patchwork family in the sense that I care for his son from his first marriage. So that was more challenging before I had our own children. And then after that, it had its own challenges, but it changed. The dynamics got better.
Yeah. So that is actually reaffirming what Bert Hellinger says, that the intimacy after the firstborn child becomes less, but the relationship can go to a new level.
Yeah.
If you find the way to that.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I
it
think
would
so.
probably part.
Mm.
In lack of intimacy and in lack of a better relationship, obviously. Okay, thank you for sharing. So, transgender and same-sex relationship. How does the orders of love apply there? I mean, is there any difference? What do you think? No, I don't think so. Neither. Having said so, in the times when Bert Hellinger was practicing and teaching, it was not common. Like, of course, there were gay people, but they came to a family constellation because they were suffering. So they wanted, they wanted to know why, and they wanted to be normal. If you understand. Nowadays, like 20 years later, it is so common to have same-sex relationship and transgender relationships and platonic relationships, even in young people, that that is not the fact anymore. Nobody wants to fix that, So if they want to fix it and come to a family constellation with this issue, that's one thing. But it is very, very possible that they come in a relationship that is intact, and they have other issues that they want to look at in a family constellation. So I would also treat transgenders or same-sex relationships the same as any other relationship, and see what comes up. Okay, now are you ready for the next exercise? Yeah. So because Reem is not so well, how about is Rosemary and Farah, you work together? Yeah. Okay. And I look after Reem. Yeah. So we have this exercise now that one of you is representing the partner. In both of your cases, the husband. Yeah. And then after 5 minutes, you swap. Now I leave it to you. If you want to say something, I probably think it would be better if you don't, but if there is a word, especially the one who's representing the partner, if there is a word that comes up strongly, share that, yeah? So it's for you like a sneak peek into the soul of your partner, which is very valuable, yeah? Without discussing it or answering to it, yeah? Just receive it as if it would be a gift. If something comes up. Was this understood? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Hello back. How was it for you, Rosemary and Farah?
Do you want to go?
Okay, I go first. When Farah was my husband, I felt suddenly there's more blood running through my veins. I felt warmer, and I also felt, maybe I'm wrong, he's sad. And when I was Farah's husband, I felt she has beautiful eyes, and in a way, really enjoying looking in her eyes. It's funny, she said he is not doing that. I thought, and I also felt like there's a deep love, and I think she works too hard, or hard. In a way, he admires her or is grateful for all what she does. Something like this I felt.
It's so interesting that you say that, because he's been saying that to me. He's saying, you're taking on too much, you're working too hard. And I always tell him, no, that's not true. And he says, no, you're stressed. And I say, no, I'm fine. And it's been a recent thing to a point where I'm thinking, am I really doing too much? So it's so funny that you're saying that. We had a bit of a hiccup. I think I saw the message that came in and said that swap in a minute, but I was waiting for the next message which says you can swap now, and that didn't come in. So I was still Peter. So Peter and Sheikh were looking at each other for a while until I went, shall we swap? And then she was like, I am your husband. I was like, oh, so am I. I'm your husband.
So how was that?
That was interesting. About being Rosemary's husband was, I felt not as strong as connection as I felt like there was a blocking, like something blocking a stronger connection. Like when I was looking at her, I could appreciate her and see her, but it was almost like the distance suddenly grew further, you know, in that time. And it felt like there's so much history, but at the same time, there was almost as if it was further. And I remember I just like leaned forward, trying to get closer. And I remember, I think at one point I started here, and at the end of it, I was here, you know. But yeah, it was very different from the experiences we had yesterday with the mother and father.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is, and it's supposed to be very different, right? Now, I have, just from what you shared today, Farah, I have a picture, because Rosemary just shared that she likes to look in your eyes at being him. Yeah. So this is why this is different. The soul desires are different to the physical body. The physical body is overlaid with much stuff, self-consciousness, and lots of stuff, right? So this is why the physical looking in the eyes is not a soul collection, right? It's not. But this representing here, that's the soul connection. There you know that he is looking in your eyes, right?
Thank you.
So don't worry about that. I don't think that's the thing. And what you shared about Rosemary, because I know her husband and he worked with me as well several times, is also my observation, right? That there's something going on. Yeah, there's a blockage. Yeah, that brings distance. And then when we worked, Rosemary, remember, then this blockage is gone.
Yeah.
And then it comes back. This is bizarre, but this is how it is. Yeah, so that's interesting. So very good representations, everybody. Great. Awesome. So just a couple of more words on relationships, not necessarily romantic, all relationships that are equal, you know, that are like a lake situation. Giving and receiving is the definition of a relationship, right? There is no relationship without giving and receiving. It is at the heart of the relationship, right? So if this is an exchange, like giving and receiving is an exchange, right? And without this exchange, there is no relationship, right? And I like to think, do you know Dr. Bruce Lipton? Oh, the cell biologist. Oh, he's amazing. I really urge you to look some, I don't know, YouTube videos or books up from him. He has brought to us the experiment with the cells, where he put the same cells into different liquids, and one liquid had a nourishing component, and the other liquid had a toxic, a poison component. And he could see that the cell is retracting. No, hang on, it was one dish, one cell, and on one side was a nourishing liquid, on the other side was a poisoning liquid, and the cell has retracted from the poisoning liquid, yeah, but could not go to the nourishing liquid, right? So a cell can only do one thing. It can either be nourished or it can be in fear. Love or fear, that's all. That's like on and off switch, right? That's his findings. Anyhow, why I'm saying that is because it's really, it was really way showing that when we are kept in the state of fear, what we are like in generally are by you know, by news and whatnot, when we are kept in a state of fear, we cannot be nourished. Yeah. So we have to step out of the state of fear in order to be in the state of love. just because our cells are not capable of doing anything else. They can do either or, either or. So, but why I'm saying it here is I would like you to think of a system, yeah? There are members and it has a boundary, and the boundary is a membrane like a cell in the body, right? And through the membrane of the cells are all these billions of cells are exchanging information, nutrition, energy in a very highly intelligent way. And this is a permanent exchange, yeah? And these exchanges happening from one system to the other as well, and this permanent exchange, like the organs exchanging through the blood, and you know, if you just think of your body, and this is absolute life at the basis is an exchange, yeah? So if it's stagnant, it's dead. It's a permanent exchange. And the body depends on the exchange of cells, and we depend also of the on the exchange with other people, because other studies have proven that if somebody is imprisoned in solitude, you know, they die. They literally die. You cannot survive for years and years and years without any exchange, yeah, with other people. It's impossible. We need that. So these systems, if a system excludes other system and refuses any exchange, then it collapses. We know that from Germany and the Soviet Union and East Germany, right? They have excluded exchange, and it just didn't work. It just bound to collapse, and it has, right? Families are also systems. Don't forget, we are talking about family systems, right? Their members exchange permanent information, giving and receiving energy, nourishment, and love, right? And this is why the family soul cannot tolerate a blockage, because this blockage is hindering the exchange between these two family members, you know, that's supposed to exchange love and, you know, energy, worship, whatever, gratitude, whatever's missing, yeah? And this is why there is that sends great adversities to the descendants. So they suffer and seek for help so they can look at it and find the soul course to release this blockage and let the exchange happen again. So and then of course the systems also follow a certain order, and that is where the orders of love come in. So the exchange is not chaotic. Remember, a system is an organized field. The exchange follows an order, right? And this is the beauty of the orders of love, where we learn where the order is here, and we can then apply in our own lives and when we help others with family constellation. So it has a double win, if you will. So who's giving? So now we're looking briefly on top of what we have already addressed, unbalanced giving and receiving. Who's giving all the time without allowing others to give back says, better you feel guilty than I. So that is the good people who always doing, who don't let you do anything. No, I do the dishwashing. No, you sit down. No, I do the cook. You know, the people who are the good, you know, the good, they're giving. They have a hidden agenda, and it can be subconscious, but it is a hidden agenda. The hidden agenda is better you feel guilty than I, right? And you watch out for people who are doing that, because they are actually collecting debt, and they will one day turn around and bring them in, want to bring them in, this debt. So to avoid this in relationships, you always make sure you are balancing out giving and receiving from your perspective, not from the perspective of your partner. You can only change your own actions, not the actions of your partner. So you can either give less or give more. You can receive more. When you always say, no, no, I do that for you, I do that. Just sit there and say, you go, massage my feet, you know? Let them do it. That is a wonderful exchange. For you cooking, you can get a foot massage, right? Or a hand massage or something. Yes, Farah?
What happens when this is not a partner relationship? Let's say with a parent, like my mom likes to do everything, and then if I don't let her do it, she gets really upset. But sometimes, like you said, the debt thing comes up. So
Okay.
what
So
about the
first of
dynamic?
all, the mother can do that for their child, you know?
Okay.
That's just what they do. They give, they give, they give. And even if the child is adult, it's still their child. So that's fine.
Okay.
And you don't need to give that back. You can say, okay, mom. Yes. You
Thank
can,
you.
but you definitely want to be thankful for it, right? And not getting upset by it, because it's not an equal relationship. Yeah. And you don't need to balance it out. You can just receive it and say thank you. Hmm? Yeah. Wonderful. So if we talked about that. If somebody asks for something unrealistic, indefinite, like love me forever, something cannot be balanced, right? It's bound to unbalance the relationship. A word on sympathy or pity, yeah. This is not giving or receiving. This is a very low vibrating energy that actually divides, no? Because it always creates an imbalance, because the one who is pitying somebody else considers themselves above, yeah, above the other. This is the nature of pitying somebody, yeah. They are belittling the others. They are not respecting their suffering. They are not respecting their greed. They are not, they feel above it, and so this is watch out for this. No, this is also debt collectors. They are not in a balanced relationship. And receiving is often more difficult than giving. That we might have all realized in our lives. It is quite easy, especially being a female, to give, and a little bit more difficult to receive. So watch out for that, and maybe up your skills in receiving, and let things just enjoy things as they come. And maybe even suggest to your partner to do something for you that they can actually do. Not something unrealistic, you love me forever, but something realistic, like I don't know, make a hot bath for me with my favorite salt and essential oils or whatnot, right? Something realistic that they can do immediately to balance something out that you have done, that you have given, in excess. So we did that exercise, and we are here. We are at the end of our module 1. So let's just check in with everyone. How was it for you? I would love to see from you at least one thing in your own words that you have learned from module 1 that you will never forget. How about that? Reem, would you like to start? What comes to your mind?
I think the last thing you're talking about, debt collectors, and making sure as well, like when in a relationship, because usually I'm the giver, keep an eye on that always try to even out, as you were suggesting. I think that would definitely be a lesson for me. Great.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you for sharing. And Rosemary, what have you learned in this module? Can be yesterday or the day before, something that stuck to you.
The success comes from the mother and addiction comes from the father. I found it quite interesting. And also with the adoption, how we think, or if people adopt a child, they always have good intention,
Mhm.
but maybe it's not the best interest in the whole family system. I found it quite interesting.
Very good. Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you. And Far, what have you learned?
I think today's session, especially so with the receiving and giving and how we can balance things out with
Mhm.
simple things that we
Mhm.
know our partner is able to give. I think that's something I definitely can work on. It's so simple, but I think so useful.
Wonderful. Great. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. So, if there is no, any other question that I can help with before we say goodbye, I'm happy to answer. All good? Very good. Okay. So, I'll leave you with this and I wish you a good night, good day, wherever you are, and say thank you. And
Thank
see you when
you.
you go.
Mm.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maya.
Bye.
Bye.